Hey, Guy here. Something a little different I'm going to show you today. Before I get to it, don't forget, subscribe to the channel, like this video, helps out a lot. Brought to you by our friends at Tito's Handmade Vodka. So today I went on to a podcast hosted by my friend Ashley Adamson. It's her podcast. It's called Your Mom, and her co-host is Lisa McCaffrey. And they interview a bunch of moms, famous athletes and high achievers, that sort of thing. And they also have some other really impressive conversations. I listen, highly recommend it. And Ashley said, why don't you come on? You cover the Niners a lot. You can ask Lisa questions that you think the hardcore fans would want to know. They have an episode out as well, coming out soon, a mailbag where they answer a bunch of questions. And Lisa talks more about the 49ers there. But we got into as much as we could in the time we had. It was really fun. It's going to start, if you saw the clip that went viral this week of Lisa doing an interview with Jeremy Schaap, in which she tells a story about a youth football coach yelling at 14-year-old Christian McCaffrey. We're going to start with that story. And I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. Here we go. It's Ashley Adamson, Lisa McCaffrey, and their producer Betsy's there as well. And I appreciate them letting a dude come hang out for a little bit. By the way, did you guys talk about Lisa going viral for that high school coach who said something? Did you guys...
Oh, yeah. I did have somebody reach out and ask me to ask you about that, Lisa. That is
guys, okay, regarding that, that's an old interview.
Yeah.
But I just have to say, the boys' pediatrician called earlier today, and didn't have my phone with me. He left. So he's like an older man. He was their pediatrician, all of them growing up. He just left a message and he goes, "Hi, Lisa. I just, this is Dr. Cheddar. I just wanted to say that, I wanted to tell you that Christian's not a pussy." Swear to God. I took the message and sent it to every one of my kids. I go, this is the best message I have ever gotten in my whole entire life. It's the greatest thing that's ever. I was crying, laughing. I said, Ed's like, this is the best. It was so good. If you knew this man too, he's just the sweetest older man ever. I loved him. He was just a great doctor. Oh my gosh. It was so funny. I know I should play it. It was so good.
So Christian's pediatrician confirms that he is not a pussy. I'm so glad we have that. Did he say anything about Ed? He
didn't. No, that one's jury's still out on that one. No, I'm kidding.
All right. You know what? I thought the first question would be a real serious journalism question.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Never got one of those.
Christian got hurt at the end of the game the other day. How is he, Lisa? Let's break some news.
Okay, breaking news. He flipped, landed on his head. He's fine. He just, like a little stinger, and little stinger. This is not breaking news. He was totally fine. He said he would have gone in had they needed him 100%. So let's all calm down with that. Cause I know I had my mom calling, all my mom's friends calling. Is he okay? Is he okay? So funny, but no, yeah, he definitely, and I think he goes, I would have totally gone in. And he said, hallelujah, that he goes, I felt better coming out of that game than I had the last 6 weeks. He felt very good coming out of the game. His neck was sore, but come on, everything's sore at the end of a game when, you're playing running back and those big guys are falling on you. So yes, there's not really much news there. So sorry, Guy. Good try.
No, that's good. That's a good clip. Well, that'll go viral. All right, here's my other question, which is not a journalism question necessarily, but for people who don't follow the Niners very closely, or maybe don't, are really into the real game and not on the Twitter BS that happens. One thing that happens a lot when the 49ers play is that Christian will get every carry in the first half and the Niners will be up 14. And then the third quarter, he'll get every carry. And the Niners will be up 21. And then the fourth quarter will start and he'll get 4 straight carries. And all the Niners fans on the internet go, Kyle, will you give it to somebody else and let Christian rest? And so my question is, do you ever say, Kyle, will you let somebody else carry the ball and give Christian a rest?
I do not, because they know what they're doing way better than me. And if you ask Christian, he is not getting enough carries. He wants the ball every time. So I stay out of that debate. It's not up to me. I think Kyle has proven himself that he knows what he's doing, and it's good actually there. And then but then 2 games ago, everybody was bitching that he didn't get enough carries. Did you? I don't know if you read that. Twitter.
Oh yeah. I saw that. You can't win.
I don't. I kind of laugh at the Twitter stuff because it's absurd. So yeah, I honestly think it's what the defense is giving them is that depends on the play call. So I think Kyle kind of knows what he's doing. And Christian wants the ball every play, which he's just a fighter. and then he's not mad if somebody else gets it either. He'll block for him, whatever he needs to do. He's just, he's just so happy to be on this team. He's just so, like, for real, this is like such a blessing. Like, this is a team. It's just amazing. We reviewed it after the game. We sat there and we were all just like, can you believe I'm here and on this team and I'm going to the Super Bowl? It's a dream come true.
I think it's great you stay out of Kyle's business, because I have a quote here from Ed from 5 years ago when I did a Northern Colorado game. He was the head coach. And he said, we asked him, like, why do the kids play football? And he said, Lisa's actually like, I'll come home sick of football and she'll be watching football. But actually, one of the things he said here, I remember, Ashley, I sent you this quote. He said, and I had to read it twice to make sure I wrote it the way I think I wrote it. Lisa used to coach their soccer coach. So you didn't coach them, you coached their soccer coach? You were very involved?
I coached their soccer. They're little league soccer teams. Yes, I did. And Ed likes to say that the reason they don't play soccer anymore is because I was their coach.
Oh, you were their coach. Okay.
Quite it's like the great Santini out there.
But so you weren't coaching the coach. I wrote it wrong.
No. I was actually their coach. And by default, it wasn't like I walked into it. Everyone's like, "Oh, you played soccer. You coach." And mind you, they're literally like 5 or 6. They're little. No one's making the MLS, that year. So everybody calm down. And Ed seems to think that I was this hard-nosed coach. That couldn't be further from the truth. I was very sweet. But they did one of the games. Yeah, my oldest son lost to a team of girls called the Powder Puff Girls. It was so awesome. And like, actually, I think Christian played on that team too. They lost to the girls, and looking back, it was glorious. It was hilarious. We still talk about that game today. It was so fun. It was literally like 3-on-3, but when you're all swarming the ball and they beat us, but they think they were juiced up. They're like, those girls were definitely juiced up. There's no way they would have beat us. Like, they're going back thinking that, but no, what ended up happening is they realized that soccer was the same time as football. And that's why they chose football over soccer. Not because I was a bad coach. Screw you, Ed. Ed doesn't know what he's talking about. Ed is not the athlete that could have played soccer. That's the problem. He did not have those genes and that ability. He was just a dumb football player. Oh, look at me. I catch and run. Really? Calm down. He couldn't have handled soccer. That's a real sport.
Should we believe Lisa's story on this, Ashley? You know her better than
100%.
Me. Okay.
And I can imagine, like, what a sweet, kind, like, soft-spoken coach that you were for those 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. I bet you held them accountable. I have no doubt. We need to get the Powder Puff team on the podcast. We should find out.
They're probably playing right now.
I'm sure they're probably just getting all juiced up right now.
Right.
Somewhere there's like 15.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's like 15 girls. When the Niners come on, they're like, that guy sucks.
His ass in soccer.
I will say this: there's an abnormal number of girls that come out of Colorado that are on the professional teams. One year, there was the three of the college girls that were up for the equivalent of the Heisman for women's soccer were all from Colorado. That was pretty cool. We have a lot of really good soccer players. I think they just have a really good youth program. They put a lot into it. It's pretty amazing what they've done. It's a big deal here in Colorado. Women's sports in Colorado, especially at the high school level and the young girls, we have tons of basketball players that make it too. It's actually pretty impressive. I wish the guys would step up, but the girls teams are really, really good.
Colorado Track and Field produced Ashley Adamson.
Yes, there you go. I mean, seriously, need we say more?
That's the best athlete to come out of that state.
I once saw her dunk.
No way.
Yeah.
A donut? I'm kidding.
I called my mom last night and said, do you have any questions I should ask a mom? And she said, what you would think a mom would say. What are you most proud of? What are you most proud of?
Oh, yeah. I went for a little run today, and I was thinking, end of my run, I'm like, I actually want to get all the boys together at the end of this Super Bowl, just get them in a room and just tell all of them what I'm the most proud of them for. Cause I just think that would be, I'm proud of all of them. They're all very conscientious. They're not, for lack of a better term, they're not dicks. They're not like going to like step on someone or be rude. So they're very conscientious. Their feelings are hurt if they feel like they've hurt somebody else. Like, I'm proud that they care. that, they could be pompous and egotistical, and they are the furthest thing from that. And I think that's the most thing that I am proud of. They're good citizens. They're good people. They're not going to like screw people over in a business deal. They're not like money hungry. They're not, like, I don't know. They're just, I love them. And I love the way they love each other and support each other too. That's one of the greatest accomplishments. I feel like that. I don't know if Ed and I contributed to that, but I love the way they love each other. And when they're together, there's nothing better. They're hilarious. They're funny. And they'll go to bat for each other like crazy. They'll fight, but if somebody comes in and says one bad thing about one, they'll all turn on that person and, get after him. So I don't know. That's what I think I'm the most proud of. Whatever.
What a great answer. I got to ask, what's it like for the other three boys? I mean, I know we've kind of talked about this dynamic before, Lisa. They are all so special and so successful and are doing their thing in their own life. But to have, one of your kids be playing on the biggest stage of all time in really any sport, what is it like for the siblings to kind of watch? I know they're super supportive, but what do you think that dynamic is?
Yeah, no, they're the number one fans. I mean, they're so, like, you watch them watch a game. They want it probably more than Christian. That's not true, but they want it for him so bad. They know, they watch how hard he's worked and what he's done. And they've seen it. You ask them and they've said, we've been seeing this since Little League and high school. They've almost all of them were able to play with him in high school, except Luke was just a little too young. But they all have watched him and they've seen it at every level, and they're proud of him too. They're really proud of him. And they're supportive, and it's cool. They all, they're excited too. And like one thing, they all want to make it on their own too. They don't want to use him to like make it. But I actually heard the Kelsey brothers talking on their podcast, just little clips. And I actually was like, it was cool the way they support each other. And I called up like Luke, for example, who's doing all these interviews for the Senior Bowls. He's interviewing with coaches and scouts and whatnot. And I'm like, Luke, you know what? You don't have to dismiss the fact that Christian's your brother. You can, that's a plus. That's not a negative. They're not going to hold that against you. That's a beautiful thing that, and you can tell them that you support him. You don't have to disregard that. That's a really neat thing. They don't want to think like, oh, they're riding his coattails or, whatever, but, they just truly love each other. They don't want to be stereotyped as like the brothers that are the leeches or, just hanging on, because they all are doing their own thing, but they're all equally as proud of him as he is of them too. Christian's proud of them and he loves them just as much too. So I don't know, that's one thing I'm just kind of proud of. It's pretty cool to see them interact. So yeah, and they fight too. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, they love each other, I guess. So whatever.
Well,
so good.
Here's one along those lines. Maybe if I interviewed all four boys, would they agree on which one they think is your favorite?
3 of them would say the same one, and then the other one would probably say someone different. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. That we actually just had this conversation just this past weekend. It's pretty funny. Yeah, but it varies. It literally varies. It completely changes every week to week. Yeah.
Ashley, do you want to push her? Or?
Who would the 3 say? Who would be the 3 that would say the same one?
Max, Christian, and Dylan would all say that Luke is my favorite because he's the baby, he's the baby. But like looking back, here's why. I mean, it's not like he is my favorite, but he's probably the most well-adjusted. But here's why. Because he was the 4th one. That kid was like basically raised himself. We would like go off on the weekends to watch the other brothers play, and he'd be left alone in high school on weekends. And like literally like is completely autonomous. Like he gets shit done. He can just do it. It's like he doesn't call like, oh, I need this. Not that the other ones are nags, but he kind of raised himself. And so he's probably the most well-adjusted of the 4. But they're all awesome. They're all great. I love, but Luke, but he's not my favorite all the time. Right now, Dylan's my favorite because he flew out for Christian's last game and was amazing. He was awesome. He was the cutest. He could tell I was so nervous and just out of the blue just stopped me and grabbed me and gave me a big hug. And that was the best thing that happened that day. It was really cool. So I don't know. It's just they would say Luke, but then Luke would probably say somebody else. I don't even know who he'd say. So
here's a momsplaining question then. When a child acts like they need you less, does that make you want to? Yeah.
No, because sometimes now, especially because they're not home, you want to be wanted still, like, because they're not around and none of them really need me. But when they do, or they ask for something, that actually, sometimes that will become my favorite. It's like, oh, I do serve it, although old and dangerous behind the wheel. So, there's that too. So I don't know.
I had one kind of more serious one, which is what happens when your kid becomes famous, like to everybody. I remember, I think it was Sam Darnold's mom came on.
Yeah.
And talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. You want to protect him even more in a weird way. You want to just make sure that he's protected and safe. But it's pretty cool. It's kind of, I don't want to like dismiss it because it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing if you keep it under control and you don't like get a big head or don't worry. We don't let him get a big head. I promise you. Between the brothers and Ed and I, he is not getting a big head. No, you just make sure that's one thing for sure. You just want to make sure he stays humble. You just I don't know. It can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes, but for the most part, Ed kind of had it a little bit here. So we sort of went through that and they watched their dad navigate it. And did it beautifully. He did it he was great at it. If it was me, I would be way different. I'd be like, hey, look, hey, this is awesome. Ed was like, he doesn't love attention. He's like kind of like in arms, like they'll do things and whatnot, but he's a little like shyer. He doesn't love the attention, which is kind of cool. Whereas I love it. Are you kidding? I love it. So, so Christian's a little bit like Ed now, he's a little bit like, shies away from it, but he appreciates it too. I think, you work hard to get in this position. Like, I think one of the coolest things I've ever witnessed as a mom is like, first and foremost, the first time I went to a Carolina Panther game and somebody's wearing his jersey. I'm like, are you kidding me? Somebody's wearing my kid's jersey. That's so cool. And then people are asking him for autographs. You just want his name signed. Like they did that with Ed. Like that's really a scrap of paper with his name and that specialty. That's really cool. That's pretty neat. So. Anyway.
Can I jump in too and say, Lisa, I think one of the coolest things that you kind of know this from the outside, but then getting to know and kind of seeing it more from the inside too, it's been really cool. I don't think people realize how much influence on like kids and young people and people in general, but especially like these young people who just idolize athletes. And not all of them maybe should be idolized. And Christian, in my mind, is like exactly who every kid should look up to. And the way that he thinks about and shows up, and it's been, many of the stories have been told publicly about the videos that he sent and the things that he's done and what he's done for his foundation and, and helping kids and all of this stuff. But there are so many more of those stories that don't get told, that aren't out in the public eye. And the impact that he can have on somebody's life, and especially a young person's, it's been unbelievable for me to see. Like it's emotional for me to even like talk about it. Cause even knowing some of the stuff that he's done, I imagine that that's a pretty amazing part of being his mom too, is just seeing how he's able to impact people.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. I get blown away still when like a kid asks for an autograph and like they're cheering or they're excited. That's like, wow, that you just made that kid's day. And sometimes I tell him that I'm like, did you see what happened, how special that was for that kid? And I just want him to appreciate that and don't dismiss it and don't act like it's not a big deal, because it is a big deal. It is really neat. And he's been put in this position, and I just hope he just can maintain it and do it with class and spread goodness and do the right thing. And the way he carries himself so far has been pretty good. He's not been arrested, so that's a good start.
He does have some tattoos though. I don't know.
Tattoos. That was one of my things. He did get some tattoos, but so can't win them all. But.
Well, I know this. If I was like, let's say I was you mentioned Matt Burrows in your mailbag. If I was like writing a story, one of the questions I would ask you is and you mentioned, I think in that mailbag, how hard he works. And I heard him talking about some of his off-season training with like surfers, with Laird Hamilton and some of these people that do stuff that's very different than the way football. And one thing he said was that I guess when he was little, maybe Ed threw him in the pool wearing like a floaty, because Christian's thing was you don't get to rest in water. You can't stop like you can on land. And so it really forces you. So the question I would ask if I was writing a story about like how Christian McCaffrey became this worker is what was it you think that you and Ed did that created a person willing to push himself to places that even others who play his sport maybe don't quite push themselves to?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first and foremost, Luca is one of the best surfers in the world. Luca was in our box last game, and he's one of Christian's best friends. He's one of the Maverick surfers, the big wave surfers. I don't know if you know who he is, but look him up. Luca, I can't pronounce his last name, but he is probably one of the greatest. He's become one of his best friends. He's just a gem, just a great guy. So that was cool. Actually, I kind of asked him that question. I'm like, what is the biggest wave you've ever had to endure? And were you ever scared and whatnot? And he said, I had to, he showed me a picture of a wave. It looked like an avalanche coming down, this huge wave. He had fallen, and I'm like, I would have freaked. I would have just lost it. I know me. He just said I had to take a big breath, go underwater, and just relax and wait for it to pass. And meanwhile, it's pushing him around all over on the reef. He's like, it's banging around, and he just, had to just like get out of it. He had to just be calm. Otherwise he could have died. If he didn't, he had to hold his breath for over 30 seconds. And then it passed, and he could get up and get out, and they'd have to, bring him to safety. But it's insane what those surfers do. But that and then like the cold stuff he does is it just helps him train his mind to get in a certain flow, like a relaxed flow. But what we did, I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't know what exactly we did to get him to be this just focused and this hardworking. I mean, his dad was insane when he played. He learned how to train. Actually, he became a better player after watching Jerry Rice, to be honest, after watching him train, watching his work ethic, what he did to be the best receiver on the field. And he was gifted some amazing talent, but he also was an incredible worker. And Ed watched him at the Niners. And, I don't know if Ed was a good player, big and fast, but he had to hone his skills. So he learned how to train. It was one of the guys he learned to train from. And then he came to Broncos and used that. And Ed was same thing. He would looking back, he was a freak. He would cut any teeny tiny extra piece of thread or clothing on his uniform because he wanted to be lighter, because he had a complex because people said he was slow. Meanwhile, he ran a 4.38, but that's besides the point. Not his combine, but he's run that before. It's been clocked. But he had a complex about being slow, about people stereotyping him as being slow. So he would do anything in his power to be lighter. So when he would go out on the field, and he's laughing. He's like, I should have invented the shirts they have, the jerseys they have now, because that's what he was trying to get after, the tight jerseys, the cutting of the jerseys, everything. And Ed was their coach, helped him in Little League too. He's one of their coaches, not Christians actually, ironically, but all the other guys he helped coach. But even in Little League, Ed was a freak about that. He's like, he would feel like a failure as a dad if one of them would get jersey tackled. So he would double side tape his jersey onto the pads. If he literally, to this day, if Christian gets jersey tackled, he'll yell at him. Even if I don't give this playoff game anything, he'll ask Christian. He'll freak about it. He's like, that's like the one thing you don't want him to do is get jersey tackled. So he would literally go to Home Depot, get double-sided tape, like construction tape their jerseys onto their pads. And then when he was coaching, he'd do it to almost every player on the team. It was incredible. But he was just so focused on details, every little thing to make you the best player you can be. He's like, if you're going to do this, let's do this right. Let's put everything we have into it. But Ed was like, I don't care what you do, but that's what you have to in life. Like, I don't care if you want to play piano, if you want to be a singer, if you want to be an artist, whatever it is, and I felt the same way too. I'm like, whatever you do, just put your all into it. Give it your all. Why not? If you're going to try, you might as well just try. So anyway, maybe that's where he got it. I don't know. But yeah, Ed was a slightly psycho back in the day, and maybe that carried over to Christian. But that, I don't know. That could be it. So.
But my last follow-up, because I don't want to take any more of your time, is that my observation though is that he doesn't seem to be angry. Like sometimes the guys who play that hard, anger is a motivator. It doesn't seem like anger is what motivates, or the anger is not a part of that for him. I don't know. Is that true? You think?
Did you watch the Rose Bowl?
I did watch the Rose Bowl. That's right. He didn't win the Heisman, and he went off in the Rose Bowl. That's true.
No, he's not like by nature an angry kid, but he's like Ed too, and probably me a little bit, I have to admit, is like almost bizarrely competitive. Like, I mean, we've had some, we play gin sometimes or backgammon, and it's pretty heated and we get angry. And there's like holes in the wall from where they would play video games. And if he lost, there's holes in the walls. And he's very, 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 very competitive, that by his nature, and wants to win, wants to be the best, wants to beat the guy that's, covering him and whatnot. So that's important to him. And yeah, and by nature, he's not an angry guy off the field, but when he gets on the field, he feels competitive with the other team. That's for sure. So maybe that's where he gets some of those runs from. I don't know.
Actually, I have many more, but I'm going to stop because
I know. Well, we'll just have to have you back. I think we should do this bonus momsplaining episode was even better than I could have imagined. Because here's the thing, and I said this to Guy the other day, Lisa. I've gotten to know you so well, and we've had so many of these conversations over the last couple of years that there's some obvious things that I don't think to ask you. And so that was fascinating and awesome for me to listen to you answer some of those questions, because some of them I didn't even know. But no jersey tackles. I'm here.
that's
for
a good little nugget. Yeah, that's good. We'll watch for that.
No jersey tackles. He was talking about that on one of the podcasts did Christian go on that he was talking about that with. He'd get grounded if he got jersey tackled.
Yes, for real. It's insane. Yeah.